Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are across this great wide world of ours. I'm going to still consolidate, or not consolidate, but still discuss the issue of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, needless to say the BIA. And I was doing some research today, and I read an article today, and the article, and I hate to walk away, but it is. It's called Indian Water Rights. It's called, and excuse me, Indian Water Rights across the Colorado River. And I wanted to read something about Arizona water rights. And this thing was published in the 1970s. And the issue when I read it and reading it about, and then basically the thesis of it is how the Navajo got screwed on the water rights, and it actually started in 1868, which would have been under the Johnson administration. But after the Andrew Johnson administration, after that came the Grant administration, and we have to remember on the Grant administration, the issue always became the issue of the Indian problem or Native American problem, and the issue that lo and behold, that I read that by the author, and like I said, it's Indian rights, is how the ineptness of the BIA was occurring in the 1970s. And actually, it talks about how the BIA didn't have the facilities to help with the reclamation concerning Navajo. And then I begin to say, this is an ongoing problem. And then it talks about issues that occurred in 1900, because this is called the Winter Water Rights, or Winter WINTER Water Rights of 1908, which more or less gives the rights for Native American tribes to have water, but there was no way or no solution to how to implement the program. Needless to say, and there are some issues in that writing concerning the BIA, and needless to say, they all were swept under the rug, and needless to say, we're back to, in 2025, back to the same issue on water rights for Native Americans and how to implement it. But what occurred to me during that whole thing was the actual ineptness of the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And it's just an institution, and I don't know if it's a bigger problem within the Interior Department, or if it's just the ineptness of the Bureau, or the Bureau shouldn't be part of that. Remember, one time the BIA was part of this, was Secretary of the War Department, and that when it was created by John C. Calhoun in the 1930s or 1830s. So the issue was when they put that, it's, and then the one comment the author made about it was, this was not one of the top favorite, whatever you call the bureaus within the Interior Department. So there again, is this something that we need to address, that we haven't addressed, which I agree has not been addressed? It's more or less, as I always like to say, the old cliche, let's just kick the can down the road, and hopefully someday we'll solve this problem. And here we come, we're 2024, middle of election, and yet we have solved the problem with the BIA. And there again, it shows the ineptness or the malice of the Bureau, which is supposed to be helping Native American people, which really, in essence, the help is coming from the tribal leaders and not necessarily the Bureau of Indian Affairs. And it is my contention, and still my contention, that the BIA needs to be defunded, and that money given over into an allotment, create 4 agencies, call it something else, call it agencies of Native Americans, create 4 areas, close the headquarters down in Washington, D.C., and just create an east region, which is east of the Mississippi, one in American Southwest, Northwest, and the Central Plains area. Basically, those 4 areas. And I've also said if we need to have a headquarters, we would create that headquarters somewhere in Austin or somewhere in Texas or within Oklahoma or even within Kansas, for all that matters. It would be somewhere just west of the 100 meridian, because essentially that is where a lot of the issues, like I said a few minutes ago, a lot of the issues concerning like water rights and when those issues should be prescribed to the tribes and move forward. And yet we just continue to kick the can down the road. And hopefully we think the BIA will solve these problems. And this problem is, I'm going to start calling it the stepchild of the Interior Department, because it really is, I think, one of the issues that the Interior Department doesn't want to deal with the BIA. And it's an issue that, there again, I've said this 3 times in this video, needs to be defunded and demolished and removed out of the government agencies and create an agency. I don't know where we could put it, but create where that the funneling of the money not necessarily goes to more bureaucracy, but if you're a big believer in the deep state, this is one area of the government that definitely prescribes to the deep state, because it's really creating a lot of bureaucracy, and it really isn't helping the people who need the help. And like I said, case in point, this article in 1977 talking about the Navajo water rights, and like I said, learning about the Water Doctrine of 1908, and how that one, and then the issue becomes when the Navajo was wanting to create a power plant, then there was issues about that because they needed so much water. And remember, I believe you acre per foot is actually how much water it takes to saturate a foot of acre of water. And necessarily, when you build a power plant, it's going to take extremely amount of water. And you were wanting to build it in an area where water needs are more, we're talking about the lower basin, Arizona, I consider lower basin, not the upper basin, Colorado. The lower basin, and those issues that wasn't going to fly. And the issue becomes, and what I am learning about this is it's about allotment, and there's already all that water is an allotment. So even today, if Navajo wanted to get that water, most of that water, 100% of that water is already spoken for. So how do you get that water to them? And necessarily, there again, this is something that the BIA fumbled the ball, and this is a big issue among water quality as well as water in the Southwest, because remember, it's an arid area, and then the issues don't get addressed that much. So anyway, this was just a issue on my validation, if you want to say, of defunding the BIA and removing the BIA and turning all that sovereignty over to the local tribes. And remember, the majority of the tribes exist west of the Mississippi. And when we're talking about east, mainly those rights are riparian rights or water rights compared to prior appropriation rights west of the 100 meridian. And this is one thing that I'm studying and finding out that the issue with the BIA is just they're out of touch, out of fund, and they need to be out of funded, just removed, and create a new bureaucracy that would. We don't need to create another bureaucracy, to be honest with you. We just need to turn that money over to the tribes, local tribes and tribal leaders, and let them figure out what they need. Because for the most part, when you talk about that, it's tribal leadership is that, and I'm beginning to start wondering if they're under federal jurisdiction, if that shouldn't be removed and be turned over to state jurisdiction instead of federal. And I know they have rights to the land, but I am beginning to question the sanity of that, because really, for instance, New Mexico, or Arizona, like the capital's Phoenix, the state would be more cognitive of what the Native American tribes are needed, and not necessarily the federal government. So the federal allotment or federal trust in those lots should be turned over to the state rather than. And I'm starting to lean that way, but I haven't done enough research on that as well. But definitely the Bureau of Indian Affairs definitely needs to be removed and defunded and demolished, or do not exist. Anyway, for this point forward, please like and subscribe. The goal here is to get this information out. We're in an election year, election in 2 weeks, and then there will be decisions made on a new. Well, either way, you get a new under Harris or Trump. You get a new administration coming here, and this would be an opportunist time to make the changes that need to be made. Anyway, please like and subscribe. Please forward this information to other people. I'm not BSing about all this, because it's just, this is scholarly work that I see, and the validation of the scholarly work. And my emphasis is to help Native tribes better their life, but also to lower bureaucracy, which would lower the tax-paying citizens. And this is more not about necessarily me. This is about a better life for Native Americans and a better life for any United States citizen. Anyway, thanks, folks. Hope to talk to you soon, and have a great day.